And we're live!
Hello everyone, and welcome to a delayed episode of Those Are Biscuits. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Cadotte, and with me as always, he did it all for the nookie, it's Owen Adams.
I believed in a thing called love!
Not the same song, but okay!
No, I know,
If you are new to
but that is why I did it all for the nookie, because I in fact, I believed in a thing called love.
Oh, fair enough. Alright, yeah. Yeah, everyone, just listen to a rhythm of your heart. If you are new to the show, this is a interactive pop culture show where we talk about everything between comic books and movies and television and music and video games and all a bunch of other stuff. And sometimes politics even.
But you know what we're actually talking about today, John? You know what we're going to be discussing today?
What's that?
At length. We're going to be discussing the state of the games industry and the loopholes one must jump through in order to play simple video games with my good transatlantic chum,
So
Jonathan Cadotte.
Me and Owen have actually been ready to go for little over a half hour, ready to play. But the two games that we attempted to play, this Trials Fusion and Call of Duty Black Ops 3, both decided just not to fucking work.
Yeah.
Like, and not just like not work, but like work well enough to give us the hope that we could play the damn game together. And then go, nope, guess what? You have to jump through this hoop. You have to create this account. Your NAT is not the right type. And like, for all I know, we still cannot play Black Ops together, ever. Ever.
Yeah. Black Ops is just not working. At all. And Trials might work. But I had to actually change accounts and log into a different Uplay account to do it, because apparently to play Trials Fusion, you need a Uplay account if you want to play this multiplayer. I don't have a Uplay account for every single account on my PlayStation, and the podcast uses a different account, so I had to actually sync this up to my main account, which I don't normally do, to get that Uplay working, because when I made a new Uplay account, their servers aren't working. They will not currently connect this game to a new Uplay account.
Alright, did you get my invite?
I did, but I didn't want to answer it straight away because then they wouldn't be able to hear you talk. So I'm going to go get it now.
Fair enough.
You'll be looking at a blue screen right now, guys, because I'm just joining the game here. And then you'll be able to hear Jonathan again in just a moment. He's not saying anything, don't worry about it. Cannot connect to the PlayStation Network. PlayStation Network might be temporarily busy. Please try again later.
My God.
Oh, good. Have you got PlayStation Network access? Because I don't.
Yeah?
Are you sure? Just go try and play an online game for a moment.
Oh, balls.
So, at this rate, you may be enjoying the charming sounds of Those Aren't Biscuits as we don't actually play a game together. You might just be watching Trials Fusion of me playing single player while we talk. Because
I'm matching the players right now.
Okay.
I've connected to 8 other players.
I'm getting a PlayStation Network is down error. Good.
No, I'm...
Hello, everybody. How you doing? We're having a very lovely time right now. The game isn't working. We can't actually get in the game together. We've been having nothing but technical issues for the last 45 minutes.
I'm starting a match as we speak.
Okay, so I think the best solution is going to be to just do the show and play Trials and try and get into a game a little bit later, maybe?
Sure.
Because at this stage, I don't see that we have any other option. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Hello to Lizaloche. Hello to Rick Duffin 0527. Hello to Luz Connor. Hello to Sinister Minister. How are you, everybody? We're having a hell of a time getting the game to work, and just in general to get the PSN to work consistently. And it's very fun.
Yeah,
all is good.
It's been a real smooth process.
Rick Thomas says, try Control F4.
I just want to Control F4 on this goddamn day, honestly. Like,
yeah. Well, let me just try one last. Yeah, cannot connect to PlayStation Network. PlayStation Network might be temporarily busy. Try again later. I'm looking at a PlayStation Network service status that says everything is up and fine. Thank you, service status. Awesome. I'll play some single-player Trials Fusion, and we'll talk about the show. Tiny Bear Secret says, anyone would think you've been running this show for 3 years. Yeah.
Those people would be wrong.
So, we are here, we are going to run the show. You might just be looking at me playing a game and hearing John talk. That might just be the only solution we have for this. So, how are you, John? How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Welcome to the Samsara Industries program.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm doing okay. But just like I'm a little flustered by all this. Like this, like I wouldn't say that my day was like the most amazing day of my life, but you know,
you don't find this a nice, smooth opening to polite conversation then? Like, this is not a conversation starter for you?
No, it's no, it's not. It's I'm just so upset right now.
Luz Carter says, try shouting goddammit PS4, goddamn work. I mean, that would probably make as much difference as anything else we've tried. And this is like every game. So what it might be is it might actually just be that in the UK the PlayStation Network's not working properly. And that could be the cause for all our problems, right?
I mean, yeah, that actually could very well be the problem.
I love how thrown you are. Oh, what? I speak now? Beans!
What? What? No, I don't know. Okay, my day's been pretty good. My week's been pretty good. It's, I don't know. It hasn't been a very eventful week. I have learned though that this week that I don't think I'm ever going to be ready to be a parent.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because I had the wonderful duty, I guess, of helping my roommate take care of her little niece this week. And
is this the one that thinks you're old?
Yes.
And very uncool?
Yes. I mean, she's not wrong. Like,
oh, I didn't say that. No.
Right,
I was commenting on the kid's perception.
Spot on! Well done, toddler. Well done. Although I guess she's not a toddler anymore. She's going into the 6th grade. But yeah, so I kind of lost my cool because she was watching this show called Bunked.
Is this going to be like a horrific tale of abuse?
No.
Oh, good. Well, that's a relief. Carry on.
So she was watching this show called Bunked, and I don't know if anyone knows what this show is, but it's a Disney Channel show. You know, much in the same sort of vein as like a Hannah Montana sort of thing, where it's, you know, it's a live action show and it's all goofy and whatever, and it's all
like a kid's sitcom.
Yeah. And it's all about these kids who are at a summer camp, and of course the adult in charge is incompetent. So,
because when you're a kid, that's the height of comedy too. An incompetent adult.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, wait, adults can be stupid? Hell yeah!
Do you know, I think it's even more than that. I think when you're a kid, you already think adults are stupid. So you're like...
right, and this is them acknowledging what you've already known.
Right, you're like, finally, a show that speaks to my reality. A big dumb adult, walking around with their big legs and their hairy body parts.
And their strange appeal towards one another. But no, so she's watching this show, right? And like, I have this really bad habit of like, it doesn't matter what I'm watching.
Were you doing the same thing you were doing in the last podcast? Oh, you like this show, do you? Oh, you want to act like you're in this show? Oh, wow, wow, oh, you big sheeple fan. To the child.
Kind of.
And after about 3 hours of screaming in the kid's face, you just sit down and go, maybe I'm not cut out to be a parent. Oh, you think you're so good. You wouldn't be one of the cool kids in Bunked. You wouldn't be one of the bunkies. You would be a bunker.
Well, the nice thing about the show is that none of the characters are particularly cool. They're all kind of idiots and assholes.
Is that what you did? Did you just look a kid right in the face and be like, you be the biggest asshole of them all? Just really slowly, just look at, like a millimeter from her face by the time you finally start to speak, you would be the main asshole.
I mean, yeah, but like, that's a completely different situation.
There's just like about 5 minutes of really awkward silence, and then just really, really slowly just say, asshole, you.
You would be an asshole. No, but I'm watching this thing, and this always happens to me when I watch these damn shows. I'm watching. I do become partially invested. Alright? I'm just like, huh. And I start to follow some of the plot lines. And all of a sudden they just introduce a character that no one has mentioned before, but everyone's just like really cool with. Like, he just shows up. And I'm like, oh, hey, it's... I think his name was Simon or something like that. It's like, oh my god, it's Simon. How you been, Simon? The last we knew you were at summer school. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm Simon. And I was just like, and it just pissed me off. Right then and there. I'm just like, who the hell is this guy?
John spent the rest of the afternoon. John spent the rest of the afternoon on Twitter stalking the actor who plays Simon. I'm Simon. Look at a social media profile.
Oh yeah. How do you interact with your heroes?
I'm Robert De Niro. Blah 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 blah. I was in movies.
I'm like, I got legitimately pissed off because, like, in one episode, they make a big point about how this one girl is super jealous, and like, her boyfriend, who is practicing CPR with another camp counselor, like, almost got killed because she got so pissed off at him. And then the next episode, a different counselor spent the whole time literally attached to this guy's hip, hugging him, and she was cool with it. She was like, oh, look, they're having a good time. No, show some goddamn consistency with your characters. That's all I'm asking. Right? You've established that there's a narrative that this girl is super jealous. Like, she literally threatened this other girl with death. Because of it. And then the next episode, yes, she says she was going to drown her or something, or she was going to be on the wrong end of archery class or something like that. And
this sounds quite intense.
It is. So, okay. So I spent a good part of me watching this show just kind of upset over it. Like, why? there's no consistency here. There's no, there's no follow through.
I thought you said it was like Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana never threatened to shoot someone with a bow and arrow or drown someone.
Have you watched all of Hannah Montana?
Alright, no, you're right. Oh no, I'm sorry, Jonathan, you're absolutely correct. I haven't seen every single episode of Hannah Montana, and therefore I'm not qualified to say whether she drowned someone. Like, you and I both know that is not in Hannah Montana's character. It would fundamentally go against the integrity of her pure heart.
Welcome to Those Are Biscuits, the Hannah Montana aficionado podcast.
You don't need to see every episode to know what's in Hannah Montana's heart, John.
Yes. Welcome to Those Are Biscuits, where every episode is a party in the USA.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't act like you don't. You know the song.
It's funny because right now I am coming in like a wrecking ball on this Trials Fusion map. In other words, I'm crashing into everything. I'm also naked! I assume. I think this man just has shoulder pads for skin.
You assume that you're naked? Just look down! Just look down, Owen.
Well, no, I was talking about it in the game. We know when I'm naked during the stream. I'll stream my clothes on. I'm not a weirdo. I'm naked like a wrecking ball.
Are you one of those weird people who has to like take off all their clothes to go to the bathroom?
No. No, I don't think I take off any of my clothes to go to the bathroom. I don't even have to leave the couch.
Just got myself a skill saw and made this hole. You know, you get used to the smell eventually, but hey, we don't have to deal with it. The next, the next tenants might, but we're good.
We're taking the couch with us. They'll never notice.
So I'm watching this damn show Bunked, right? And I'm getting upset with like how it is. Then they get to like their Halloween episode, okay? And the running plot of the Halloween episode is, yeah, they all tell ghost stories, and then, you know, ooh, someone's pranking someone else and making them think that the horror movie is real. But then they're gonna prank them back and make them think that the horror movie is real. And then you find out the whole thing is actually just a real big elaborate scheme to prank the main adult.
Right,
the whole
the idiot.
Thing. Yeah, the idiot. And then when that unfolds, it's horrific. It's legitimately horrific. Cause like she goes outside and they have one of the girls kind of hoisted up on a bullseye with a bunch of arrows just riddled through her to make it look like she's just been pinned to this thing, just shot with 1,000 arrows. And that alone is kind of horrifying to see because she can't be more than 8 years old, right?
I love you were gonna say toddler again, weren't you?
That's kind of my.
I'm thoroughly enjoying your very broad definition of toddler. Like, what is the 6th grade specifically, by the way? Like, how old do you
to me, children go from 0 to 2, they're babies.
Right.
Then from 3 to 18, they're toddlers.
And
then 18 onward, you're an adult.
Wife material.
That's fucking gross.
So what you're saying is basically your definition of toddler is basically a security protocol?
No! What the fuck's wrong with you, man? I love how in your attempt to paint me poorly, it just makes you look way worse. Like, so, but yeah, it's just like horrifying. And then to add to it, she starts to talk. She's like, I don't think I passed archery class. And it's like,
and someone else goes, bullseye!
But it's just like, oh no, this is really horrifying. And then there's another one that they come like stumbling out of a closet, like really disoriented, like Is something wrong? And she has a frisbee lodged into her head. And it's like, oh no. No, this isn't okay. Like,
do you know what you sound like right now?
What?
I don't think you were this type of kid, right, Shirley, but you know the elephant from Tarzan? Is this water sanitary? You know what I mean?
Well, you know, it's... Call me crazy, alright? But I don't particularly enjoy seeing, like, young children murdered.
Oh, we know that's not true.
I don't like seeing fictional young children murdered, okay?
Well played, sir.
Yeah, it's just a little unsettling for me.
It's disappointing.
You know? Yeah, it's the realization that my life will never be as amazing as a Disney Channel Halloween special.
Now I know
what was
you.
the serial killer's motive? Disney.
I finally understood who I meant to be when I got to the end of that Halloween prank episode of Bunked and was disappointed to discover it was all a ruse. I should have got help, but it turns out it's not a mental illness to want every kid on that show dead.
It's a common thread.
Shall I do a few comments before we move on? Before you continue?
Should we?
Sinister Minister, 6th grade is like 12 years old. Yeah, that's not a toddler. That doesn't qualify as a toddler.
I'm okay with that. It's just one of the things where...
You know I can't hear you, John, by the way. I don't know what mic you're using, but you have now left the podcast. I'm guessing your headset isn't connected.
I'm back.
Tiny Bit Secret says, wow, so those technical issues really got to her. Kind of, yeah. I think we're a little giddy because it was such an event trying to get the damn show underway.
It was really stupid. And yeah, I'm a little over
a little
it.
bit country.
And I'm a little bit rock and roll.
I'm so bad at this game. I'm on the stupid calls where I'm... Yeah, people are just watching. We should try and get into the match next time I get to the end of one of these levels.
Yep. Okay, so I switched my mic.
Cool.
I'm gonna make myself some coffee.
So how did you go on to discover that you were not qualified to be a parent just because you don't want to watch these stupid shows?
Well, there's that, alright? But what I did... Well, a lot of it has to do with me vocally discussing how stupid the show was for not following through on its plot lines from episode to episode. Which, upon further reflection, I realized they don't care. The kids don't care about that sort of thing. You know, it's...
Well, when we were kids, it was quite rare to have shows that actually followed through like that, you know?
Well, you know, I was thinking about this. Like, when I was a kid, I was incredibly spoiled in that sort of regard, because we had this block of shows here in the U.S. called TGIF, right? Thank God it's Friday.
Were you still a toddler at the time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Toddling on at the ripe old age of 17 with your fake ID.
I was entering my 13th year of toddledom. But we had shows like Boy Meets World and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And these shows actually followed long plot points, and they actually brought back plot points from like the past, and fully expecting you as the viewer to know what they're talking about. Like, this could be like seasons, like like in the past.
I know what you're saying. I agree with you on Boy Meets World, but not so much Sabrina the Teenage Witch, aside from the fact that eventually she went away to college.
Well, I remember there was a few episodes where, like, bad witches that she dealt with in the, like, early seasons came back, and I think they made references, and I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
That was a very big show when we were kids. I think I sometimes forget how huge a show that was. I wonder if that new Netflix version is going to be any good.
Now, is the new Netflix one going to be like that?
It's
like
the spooky one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they're seeing it as a companion to Riverdale.
Okay. Which, from my understanding, is actually incredibly weird itself.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a weird, like, serial killer, like, plot point through it.
Yeah. Like, odd direction to go in, you know. But sure. But yeah, I guess the Sabrina show is going to be.
Owen, when you crash, what button are you pushing to reset?
The touchpad. Why?
Hit circle. It goes back to the last checkpoint, not the beginning of the goddamn course.
Alright, I'm sorry, Jonathan.
I'm watching you on the stream. I'm like, why is he going back to the beginning of the course? Just go back to the last checkpoint.
Habit.
I like to imagine that the poor... Oh, that's right, you're not doing that with anyone else. You're doing that solo.
I am indeed.
I'm about to say, like, those poor people who are stuck in your mat just watching you restart from the beginning of the course every time.
I do actually apologize, guys. I had totally zoned out when it came to teaching me how to do that. Because I remember it actually saying you go back to the checkpoint, and then I was like, no, it doesn't. What was that all about? I must have just tuned out when they were explaining that. Because when I played that tutorial the first time, I was not paying a lot of attention. Yeah! Damn right I got a not high score at all. Alright, yeah, let's see if this works. John's invited me again. Oh, well, it's not pulling up the same error now. Oh, nice! Let's do this.
Alright, let's...
Sinister Minch says it's okay, it was technical. Rick Tubman says, step 1, forget the instructions.
We are men.
We're manly men. We roam around the forest looking for fights.
Fights. We wear tights. Tights.
I said, hey. Hey. I said, hey. Hey, nanny, nanny. Hey, nanny, nanny. Oh.
Good.
What a map. What a map, what a map, what a map, what a mighty fan map.
Ah, there we go.
Well, at least you can get onto the second one. I can't. How the hell are you getting across here?
I might have skill.
I might have the wrong bike for this.
Sure, blame the bike.
Oh, there we go. I made it onto this thing. I'm sort of...
Remember before we started this, I told you that, hey, I used to get really into this game? Like, I didn't stay bad the whole time. Like,
this is my first Trials game, really. I played a little bit of... Oh my god.
Oh, this is gonna be rough. This is gonna be rough.
Did you pick this map?
It was the default ones that loaded.
I was gonna leave him here spasming.
Are you still talking about the game, or like what happened to you that fateful night?
You watching Bunked.
I'm just gonna leave it here twitching.
And that's when I knew I wasn't ready to be a parent.
But yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, is that, you know...
that you're a monster?
I knew... Yeah, I knew that, like, that show does not deserve that level of criticism that I was giving it, and that the
the young lady that I was watching it with.
You made the lives of everyone around you miserable for the last 20 years.
You still like me, don't you? Don't you?
I'm just trying to get up this stupid hill. Get up the hill!
No, no time for love. Just nothing but hills.
What are the numbers next to our names? 19 and 30, 39? Is that my attempt?
How many times you... Yeah, that's how many times you crashed.
Get on the... Oh.
Well, now I get to watch Owen do this.
Yay! I made it through the checkpoint on my back.
Yeah, 10 seconds.
That's how I get through most of life. Whoa!
On your back, legs in the air.
Come on! Come on! No! That went well. Hello to Fuzzy, how you doing?
Rick Defense says, "Don't worry, you'll have a mountain of bodies to ride over soon." Oh, it's Heat 2? Gotta do this again?
Great. Gee whiz. This first section I can't do at all.
That's the easiest part.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not. Trials is no laughing matter.
Every time I try and get onto this thing, he immediately flips off over the side. Get on the...
Oh, this section I don't like. The first like big steep hill with the jumps on it.
Yeah. I don't know. Everything after that was pretty easy. This first section, I'm just impossible. I just find it.
Ah. What?
No, I'm stuck on this. I can get onto the first platform without flipping over now, but I can't get onto the next one without. So what happens is I get onto this first one, and then there just isn't enough momentum to get him onto the second one usually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you get enough speed onto that first platform to get onto the second?
I don't really know, man.
Oh, there we go. The process seems to be trying to land the back wheel on the...
Like I said, that was the hardest part for me.
There we go.
How am I doing worse this time? I cannot get past this one section. It's the stupid easiest jump. Okay, there it is. Alright. So, the other thing I did this weekend, we agreed that we would just talk about first, is I watched a show called Cloak and Dagger. It's a Marvel show based on, you know, a cartoon, or not cartoon, a comic called Cloak and Dagger, the characters. Now I'm gonna probably do some spoilers here. But people are enjoying watching you fail, Owen. Just
Oh, I'm terrible. I've always been terrible at trials.
So, yeah. So, TV show based off of Cloak and Dagger, the comic book characters. And, so, what I want to say right off the bat is, it's good. It's really, really good. I've been enjoying it. But not necessarily, like, for the plot so far, because the plot's been pretty. eh. I mean, like not bad, but I mean, just it hasn't been enough time. You know,
I don't think I should have
really
picked this bike.
Did you get the one with like the tiny wheels?
Yeah. It's great. I'm having a great time. It's called the Donkey.
Yep.
Donkey!
Actually, it might help you later.
Sorry. I thought it was a place for a Shrek impression.
But yeah, like the show just hasn't been out long enough for like to really get into the plot. But what the show has done...
Spin, little man! Whee!
I don't know, like I'm just like apparently like like yeah we're gonna do our pop culture podcast today. You talk about shows, Jonathan. I'm gonna make motorcycle noise. You turned 6 all of a sudden.
Oh no, I'm not a toddler, John. Again? Get it right. I'm not a fetus or anything. The golden age of 6. Oh my god, if I lean forward on this one before I put the engine, it just falls over without the bike. Even running. This is so bad. Why did I pick this bike?
Why did we pick this game?
I am but a boy of 30, John. Let me off. I'm barely out of my teens.
I'm only a little bit past my toddler age, okay? Right. It's arrested development. Just... Oh, for God's sakes.
It immediately... The problem with this bike is the back wheel immediately kicks out from under you. I ain't picking this one again.
I just watch you restart 20 times. Like, nope, 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 nope. 45, Owen. 46, 47.
Alright, you pick this bike next time. And see, we'll see how you do, alright?
Fine,
called
I'll
the
pick
Donkey.
this bike next time. Alright.
Oh, time's up. What a shame.
The problem is that I'm going to have to pick this bike and also finish because you're not going to. So...
Well, I won't be picking this bike. Heat 2. The heat is on.
I can't change bikes.
No, I mean the time after this.
Oh, okay. Liz in the chat says, John's trying to be serious. Oh, it turned into a fidget spinner. You're a human fidget spinner now, Owen.
It's the worst bike.
Spin! Spin, you fidget bastard! Spin!
Go! Oh, you don't pass the checkpoint.
Right round, baby, right round. Like a record, baby, right round.
Oh, get past the... There we go.
He had an eye patch in that music video.
Whee! Go!
Did he have an eye patch in real life? Or is that just a thing?
Oh no, yeah, he definitely had a case of pink eye that day, John. It wasn't a fashion statement or anything.
What? He could have legitimately be missing an eye?
Well, no, what it actually was, it was quite unsettling because his eye used to spin right round, baby, right round in the socket.
Oh.
It's a serious...
I was guessing his eye spun left round, it just didn't fit. You know, they wanted they wanted thematic consistency. So
it spun right square.
And it wasn't like a record, it was like a good achievement, you know?
It was like an 8-track.
You spin me left square like an achievement, baby. Left square, left square.
Just get finishing the race, you, so we can move on.
I'm trying. Why is this all on me now?
Because I've got
too much pressure.
I've got this bike.
Much.
it's so funny every time how bad these starts are. I've killed this man, by the way.
No. I think every crash is, like, kind of death. Like, you see that spine? Spines don't do that. Spines aren't supposed to do that. I'm no doctor, but I know spines, and spines don't do that.
This guy's got pretty good posture.
You would too. There.
Hey! We're free! We're free!
Alright, so next time I have to pick the donkey.
Yeah, do it. And we'll see that it's not all me to blame. Mostly,
no.
Sure.
Yeah, I was like, hold on. Hold the phone. So, okay. This is really difficult to talk during. You picked another one of these games that's very hard to speak during.
Oh, I don't count. The thing
68, Owen?
The thing
68.
We had such a shitty time actually getting the show going. I don't really care, you know? We might as well just have fun.
Okay, so donkey. I gotta pick the donkey. There
it's right at the right, far right side.
Yep. Okay. Alright, so Cloak and Dagger, what's really good about it so far is actually the cinematography and some of the stuff they've been doing with just the look of the show. One thing, the comic book is set in New York. These characters are, like, from New York. They actually changed it to New Orleans. So the show takes place in New Orleans instead of New York.
New Orleans, New York, they're both cities that are new something.
I mean, you're not wrong, but...
How you doing there, John?
I'm doing alright.
This is more my kind of course. Nice straight line. Yeah, you are way better at that than me. It got out from underneath me every time. How did you stop it from just flying out underneath you?
Skills, baby! Skills!
Uh-huh.
No, I just know what I'm doing. You lean forward.
No, every time I lean forward, it flipped forward.
You feather it too, that helps. Ah, shit.
That makes sense.
The worst thing you can do, honestly, is with these bikes is kind of get into that loop, because you can get in the loop where it's like, oh shit, and you just keep going over and over again.
Right. To be fair, I can do that with these bikes too.
See, I'm stuck in a loop now. Like, I'm being kind of dumb. There we go.
Yay!
No.
What are you doing, John? Ah, get it together. You suck. I have skills, babies. Whereas John kills babies. Haha. Callback. I'm just picturing you now in a movie about a guy who murders pensioners called The Toddler Killer.
Ah, man, that time.
And all the police are like, so he kills toddlers, right? No, he kills old ladies. What do they call him? The toddler killer. He's confused. This just shows you what kind of a sick mind we're dealing with.
I'm going with the quad.
Yeah, I like the look of the quad. It's like, it's a really good Batman story.
No, we're not
I forgot.
okay?
I just carry on. Go for it. I forgot we were still on Cloak and dagger. Deal with it, Jonathan. All right. Womanac.
No, so they've been doing some really cool stuff with, like, visually with it. And, like, so they were never going to give Cloak his costume, right?
Name.
Like, his costume is basically Spawn's cape from the 90s Spawn movie, right?
I think it's Cloak's... I think in the comic book Infinity War, he like holds Thanos, or is it Galactus for a little bit? Someone, or is it Secret Wars? He holds someone ridiculously powerful inside it for quite a while.
Yeah, like it's like he contains an entire dimension within himself. That's like his thing. But oh, this is gonna be tough. There we go. But yeah, like, you're not gonna have a live action television show where a guy is just like this billowing cape the whole time, just like you can't have a teen drama with that going on. Although maybe you could. That'd be kind of fun, right? Can you imagine, like, remember Boy Meets World, but the whole time Sean just has a giant billowing cloak about him?
I'd watch that.
Topanga is just a cloak. She herself is a cloak, just draped over Corey's shoulders.
And Mr. Feeney's just Galactus being held inside, contained.
I feel like Eric would be like Ambush Bug, even though Ambush Bug is DC. That's how stupid he is, you know?
I see Eric as a good Booster Gold, actually. Well-meaning, you know,
right.
But dumb.
Yeah. So, but they do have one cool, like, callback, or reference to Cloak's costume in the comic books. And it's in an episode where he, like, his powers first manifest, and, he's basically laying down in bed, and he pulls his sheets over himself, and when he wakes up, he's on top of this roof. So he's starting to realize that once he envelops himself in darkness, he teleports.
Whether he wants to or not.
No, exactly. That's exactly what happens. That's actually the plot point for the first couple episodes.
I just like that
he's just teleporting randomly.
As the entire premise for a superhero. Every time he is, it goes dark, he teleports to a random location. Every time. For the entire career of the superhero, you know? And he'd be like, oh, I hope we can get ourselves somewhere useful.
Well, did you ever hear about Resurrection Man?
Sorry, did you say Erection Man?
Resurrection Man.
Oh, that's
what are
interesting.
You thinking about? But no, Resurrection Man was kind of funny because he was technically immortal, but every time he died, he came back with a different power. So there was issues where they would literally have to kill him over and over and over again until he came back with a useful power to save the day.
That's great, though, until you get the time where he comes back with the power of really, 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 really committed to vengeance for the people who've hurt him.
Well, I just like the idea that his sidekick's job is just to kill him over and over again until you know, he becomes useful.
At that point, can you even really call yourself a sidekick?
Well, yeah, you're still assisting the hero in saving the day. Like, can you imagine if Robin just had to fucking beat Batman over the head with a baseball bat, like, over and over again until he came back useful?
Well, that's why I always think the best Robin story would be a time travel story where Bruce's parents don't die, and Robin has to decide to go murder his parents to correct the timeline.
That's awesome.
That'd be cool, right?
Right, yeah.
Make it the Tim Drake Robin as well, you know? The one who's like innocent and wide-eyed.
Right, you couldn't have Jason Todd do that. That'd be too easy. Like, it's like, Jason, we need to go back to time and kill his parents. Done!
I'm not entirely sure Jason hasn't done that anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's like, again? Sure. I love killing his parents. It's a great time. You know, I start out my day, I get myself a mani-pedi, you know, just maybe a massage, you know, take a quick shower, head out to Crime Valley, kill his parents. Yeah, fuck yeah.
And then you could have issues where,
This is a vacation.
Yeah, you could have issues where, Batman's like, every time I march out into the night, every thug I beat, I see the face of the man who killed my parents. Well, gee whiz! Holy smoke, little boy, I'm gonna murder your mom and pop!
Holy cruel twist of fate, Batman!
I've taken down so many thugs that sound like the same 1940s radio personality. Like, well, gee whiz!
Finally, I must take down the start of it all, the root. Burt Ward. No one believed me. Everyone called me crazy, but I know Burt Ward killed my parents. See, Orchaos says, the physics of this game look really wonky. Yeah, they're a mess. And that's kind of the point. Then he says, Quantum Bat. After saving Bruce's parents, he removed the timeline he came from, but the world is worse than it was before. Yeah. Wait, is this a thing? Is Quantum Bat an actual storyline?
I don't believe so, but it would be good.
Yeah, just Batman coming back in time to shoot his own parents. Oh boy.
First he does it really thoughtfully. He's like, okay, Bruce is gonna lose his parents, but what if we just do it really patiently, and I'll try not to, like, be cruel, I'll make them suffer. But he gets back and Batman's he's just not committed enough, you know? He's like, alright, I'm gonna give them some pain!
Every time he goes back, he has to, just up the ante a little bit. So by, like, go 50, it's basically an episode of Saw. Just, alright, Mr. and Mrs. Wayne. Attached to your genitals is a stick of dynamite.
And then he goes, right, finally, this must be the right level of violence. When he gets back, Bruce is just hanging from the ceiling. The visions I could never forget.
No, when he gets back, Bruce is in bed with a prostitute. Light it! I said light the wick! Oh, God. I'm doing this on a BMX bike.
Oh, I am really not good at this one. That little, the little hump where you get stuck between two... Whoa!
Hey, I'll have you know that none of my humps are little, thank you. They're all potent and viral. And,
Jonathan Cadotte, the man with the viral humps. I'm guessing you meant virile, but, you know.
Yes, that's what I meant.
I'm thoroughly enjoying you and your rabid humps.
My humps. My rabid lady lumps. Just, this is a weird episode, man. So, okay, the last thing I'm going to say about Cloak and Dagger is that the last episode I saw, I think it was episode 3, there's a extended section where both Cloak and Dagger are experiencing their own, like, hallucinations, essentially. And, what it comes down to is they actually go, like, the Lost route, where they're very cryptic, where they're clearly showing you, like, what's going to happen the rest of the season in these hallucinations, but they're very cryptic, and there's, like, little clues and hints laid about in these specific scenes. And it's neat. Like I never thought I would see something like that. One, in a Marvel television show, because they seem to be very. While they're good, like Marvel shows are good. I wouldn't say any of them are very. Yeah, I wouldn't say any of them are particularly experimental. You know what I mean? I think most Marvel stuff is very straightforward. This has a feel to it, like they're gonna actually do something kind of artistic, which is refreshing.
It sounds really good. I mean, Cloak and Dagger, what's interesting, what works, I think, about the whole MCU is Cloak and Dagger aren't characters I'm hugely interested in comics myself, but that makes them more interesting to me as a show, because I know that the big advantage to the MCU is we're getting all kinds of people who would not have got movies and shows in the past, you know?
Right.
So it makes me kind of more interested for it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and so another really neat thing that the show does, and it's not hugely important, I don't think, but it's actually, I think, really cool, is, so in the comic version, Tandy, or Dagger, is a very affluent white girl, and Tyrone, or Cloak, is a black guy from, the projects, and they make a point that, he's very, he comes from a destitute, or a family that's in poverty, and, that's kind of one of the reasons he runs away from home in the comic books. And they actually flip the script in the show, where they start out that way. Dagger comes from a rich family who, and I think this is going to be part of the ongoing storyline, but it's clear her dad works for the Roxxon Corporation. They bring that company back. If you remember, that company was used actually in, I want to say, was it the first season of Luke Cage, where they mentioned the Roxxon Corporation?
Well, I don't know. It might have been Iron Fist, actually.
Was it Iron Fist? No, it was Jessica Jones, wasn't it? They were kind of in... weren't they the ones kind of involved with Kilgrave? Anyways.
It was one of the Netflix shows, though. Oh,
yeah.
I almost made it.
Yeah, so... Her dad is, works for this company, and it starts out with him basically explaining, like, no, we need to shut down the rig, because if the rig goes down, there's going to be a huge explosion, and everything goes bad. And as he's, trying to tell these people this over the phone, an oil rig explodes and basically destroys the New Orleans Bay. Very much like, the Deep Horizon, in the BP oil spill, that happened in New Orleans, or in the Gulf Coast. And, but he ends up dying in the explosion, or because of the explosion, right? And the company basically blames him for the whole thing. They basically use him as a scapegoat, saying, "Oh, well, he was the lead researcher on our project, so." It was his design, his flaw. It's all on him, which leaves Tandy and her mother basically destitute. They lose all their money, and they have no insurance money, no help. They get fucked. They get fucked over. Tyrone's family, on the other hand, it starts out with him and his brother gets shot by a police officer, unjustly shot by a police officer, and Tyrone's mother uses the situation that happens, or the incident, to basically kickstart a political career, and in turn, her family, or Tyrone and his family, become wealthy, and he's going to a private school. So I thought that was actually incredibly clever how they handled that.
So they they start people off from their original point, but then get them to a sort of inversion.
Opposites. Yeah,
it's nice.
Very quickly.
That's not an approach I've seen before. I don't think, to adaptation.
No, yeah, and like I know it's kind of weird for me to kind of keep using this, but the show also kind of starts out very Lost-like. Because it starts out with both these characters as being children, and these horrible things happening to them at the same time, and somehow they connect because of these tragedies, but you don't really understand how. But it's filmed in such a way that it's like, oh, they're going to reveal later on what happened that night, and like there's a bigger reason why these two are being brought together. Which I'm looking forward to.
It sounds good.
Yeah. So I would give it a shot.
I will. Speaking of Marvel shows, Luke Cage Season 2, did we know that was coming this week? It sort of snuck on to me. I feel like I'd lost...
I knew it was coming.
I had no idea. I just put Netflix on and there it was. I keep meaning to watch that, but I'm a little bit behind. I've got to do Jessica Jones Season 2 and The Punisher, and I'm a little behind on the Netflix shows.
Let's see here. Okay, we got some comments here in the Chizat. Let's see here. Orkia says, the bat and the butterfly effect. It's turns out his parents being killed was insurance fraud, and they were actually broke. The butterfly effect. Nice, Rick. Orkia says, I hate how they show the future in shows without writing it first. That hurt Season 2 and the last season of Breaking Bad. I predicted the ending of Breaking Bad based on them showing the future. They literally wrote themselves into a corner. Let's see here. Rick Defense says, so Lost mixed with the revamp of Heroes. Well, I don't really remember much about Heroes, but I would say that there is sort of this feeling of these two characters have a, like, I don't want to say like a destiny, but it definitely doesn't feel like other Marvel properties where it's like, oh, these are just these are people with abilities who are brought together by happenstance and they rise to the occasion.
I think what he means with Heroes is Heroes was one of the shows to pioneer that kind of characters get a glimpse at the future, and then the rest of the season is working towards that that future.
Well, okay, so here's the thing: they don't. You don't get a glimpse of the future. What you get though is the way it's sort of ambiguous about some of the stuff that's happening. It feels like someone or something is directing these characters, pushing them in certain directions, and not just in a sense of like, oh well, we have powers and abilities, let's be heroes. There's definitely a sense that there's something bigger trying to guide them into specific outcomes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I still have to see the 4th episode, which is out right now. But from what I understand, people are liking the show. It's getting some good reviews.
Well, I don't think there've been many bad Netflix shows. I hear the Inhumans isn't very. Sorry, not Netflix. Marvel shows. I hear the Inhumans isn't that great.
Yeah, I heard Inhumans sucks, and then well, you actually did better than me on that one.
Twice. Well, the thing about the Inhumans is they established the Inhumans in quite a lot of depth in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But then they don't. Yeah. They don't establish the Inhuman royal family. What they establish is the plot of basically like how the Inhumans start manifesting on Earth. If you know what I mean, the whole premise around Terragenesis and stuff like that whole plot, and the percentage of people who are likely to become Inhumans and things like that, that's all established in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they don't establish any of the team that is known as the Inhumans. You know what I mean? They don't get involved in that. So from what I understand, a lot of people were just very confused, because if you try and introduce Terragenesis and that sort of stuff first, that does bring them into the world quicker, but then it's also a little bit confusing when you then end up just moving to a show that isn't really about what their establishment in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was about. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it kind of is, but it's also about those characters, none of whom who were...
Rick Defend asked real quick, that's on Netflix? Cloak and Dagger is not on Netflix. It's on Freeform, which used to be ABC Family. And I should say, like, some people might get turned off by the idea that it's on that sort of channel. It doesn't pull any punches. I would say that the only thing that makes this not as mature as the Netflix shows is the language. But in terms of content, it's already dealt with some pretty heavy stuff. Drug use is pretty rampant. There's some sexual assault thrown in there for good measure. For good measure. Straight up in the first...
John loves himself a little bit of sexual assault.
Oh,
you sounded so thrilled.
Assault, a little assault to spice things up. Get it? Assault, salt. It's a seasoning. Salt. But
I don't get it.
But yeah, in the very first episode, an unarmed black teenager gets shot by a police officer. And they kind of show it. You see the bullet wounds hit him. So yeah, honestly, I really think that the only thing that it doesn't have going for it is the language.
Going for it
thing.
You're really gonna miss it. You'll be sat there going, God, I wish this had some bad language.
Yeah, I really wish someone would drop an F-bomb. I mean, really, it doesn't matter. I will say though that because of the language thing, they have tried to do the awkward replacement thing. So there's at one point they try to make a reference to resting bitch face, as someone has resting bitch face, but they can't say resting bitch face because of the language thing. So instead, they call it resting basic face. And then quickly turn around and make a reference that, is that a thing? No, I don't think it's a thing, but it should be a thing. And it's a very awkward moment, and it's one of those things where they should have just kind of not done it. But I kind of see why. But yeah, like I said, other than the language, I think that this is just as maybe not mature, but dark. It's just as dark as the Netflix shows.
Well, this is the first one to really go into full production since the Netflix shows, right? Like, The Inhumans was in development for a long time, and it was supposed to be a movie, and then got repurposed as a pilot and things like that. But it had been in production for a very long time. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter predated the Netflix shows. So this is really the first one to be, from the ground up, a TV show, not on Netflix, but made since the Netflix shows, right?
There was also The Runaways.
Oh yeah, I always forget about that one.
It's good. Runaways was good, and that was a Hulu original. But oddly not. I think Cloak and Dagger so far has been better than The Runaways, and I like The Runaways. I thought that was a decent show. But let's see here. Yeah, Cloak and Dagger is also produced by the same Jeff Loeb. he produced the first season of Daredevil, and I think Jessica Jones. I don't know if he did Iron Fist and Luke Cage, but he definitely produced the first season of Daredevil and Jessica Jones.
I feel like I recognize Jeff Loeb from something else, though. The name. What else he do?
He's a comic book writer.
Of course.
Yeah. He's a very prolific comic book writer. No, so yeah, I would definitely check it out, everyone. I think it's well acted as well.
Well, that's good. It's always a bonus.
And I guess another kind of cool thing too about it is I know we've had Doctor Strange and some bits with the hand, but I feel like a good majority of the Marvel universe, because I think this is set in the Marvel universe, has all been more science-based,
What do you mean by set in the Marvel universe as opposed to what?
Well, something like Fantastic Four as opposed to Iron Man. It's a Marvel property, but not in the same world. I think
an MCU.
I think this.
You mean it's an MCU?
Thing. Yeah, it's MCU.
Yeah, I think it was.
And I think, and they have made some implications in the show already that magic and actually straight up voodoo might be involved with these characters, which I think is nice because they're actually utilizing the New Orleans setting to do something that can only uniquely be done in New Orleans. Because voodoo is such a specific thing to that region.
It's quite a selling point, isn't it? Home of voodoo.
Well, I mean, people get a kick out of it. It's like I said, I'm no religious person by any means, and I don't believe in voodoo, but I think culturally voodoo is actually a very fascinating thing. Like how it came about.
He means this, by the way. If you could produce some sort of voodoo clown, he would just lose his shit.
Oh yeah, I'm all into it. No, voodoo is actually really interesting because of its history of coming up in. This isn't interesting, but it came out of necessity because of the slave trade and the slaves not being able to openly practice their religions. So, and since the slaves themselves all kind of came from different religious backgrounds, depending on where they came from, they had to sort of make an amalgamation of all their different religions because they only had X amount of time to practice openly. It's really fascinating. It's to me.
So we're gonna borrow a little bit of Steve's God. Throw in a little bit of Damien's. Sorry, Francis, your God's not cool enough.
Yeah.
But we'll take the dolls. And
well, no, because they actually explain it in the show as well. Because there's this whole bit with the voodoo that.
Well, I have to say, John, I just feel like I should clarify. I didn't think it actually panned out like that.
Don't lie. I know how you have your assumptions there, Mr. Adams.
Don't know what you're talking
about. But they kind of explain that like voodoo itself isn't a religion, but it's a set of practices that can be incorporated with any other religion. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not religious myself. I don't believe in it, but I find the formation of some of these things interesting.
But he does have a doll of me with pins in just in case.
Right. It's more of a wishful thinking sort of situation. Like, come on, this week's got to be the week.
It has pins in it, but I must admit, every so often, just after the show, as I'm going to sleep.
You feel like kiss on your lips?
not that often, but just as I'm just as I'm like getting into bed and I'm going to sleep, and I know that John's in a different time zone than me, so he's up for a little bit longer. But I'll start to get a little sleepy, and I'll just feel someone just squeezing my shoulders. A few hours later, like in the middle of the night for me, but around about the time John's probably just tucking in for bed himself for a little early night with Coco, and I just feel a little squeezing sensation in my shoulders, and John's voice whispered, "There, sweet prince. No one's gonna hurt you." Just every night, but most often after the podcast.
See, if you
and then the sensation gets lower, and it all gets weird and distressing.
See, if you pay more attention, what you actually hear is, all right, first we gotta make sure the meat is nice and tender, and then I'm gonna prepare the herb bath.
I do suddenly get like a deep sensation of what the KFC 11 herbs and spices actually are.
Oh yeah.
I always know when John's had like a really bad day, because I do just wake up in the middle of the night feeling delicious.
Yes, queen. So yeah, that's Cloak and Dagger. What do you got for us this week?
Oh, well, I saw a movie. I'd almost forgotten about what I'd done this week. I saw a movie, and that was it. That's good. So, good show this week. Let's wrap up.
Yeah, alright.
No, I saw Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I sort of feel like I should mention. There is not a kingdom that really falls in it that much. It's when I first saw that title...
Is it like a stumbling kingdom? Is it a unsteady kingdom?
When I first saw that title, I was like, oh, that's kind of a... At least it wasn't like Apocalypse. Do you know what I mean? Jurassic Park Armageddon, Jurassic Park Revolution. You know what I mean? But Fallen Kingdom's still pretty goofy. And there isn't... I mean, there sort of is, but... no, I saw Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and...
I will say that sounds like such a better movie to me, where if it just opens up with 15 years ago, the dinosaurs became sentient.
Well,
their ascent into dominance was quick and swift. Now just a small rebellion remains.
And they make these giant walking countries that keep falling over. So... Well, there was a trailer. I don't know if you've seen this movie. I've already forgotten what it was called. But there was a trailer before Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom for a movie in which London is a city built onto like a giant boat that walks through the deserts eating other cities.
Yes, what is that called? Immortal Engines or something like that?
It looks great.
Yeah, yeah, that's a book series.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
And Peter Jackson does it, I believe.
Looks great. Hugo Weaving's in it.
Of course he is, because it's a Peter Jackson movie.
It legitimately looks terrific. I thought
it actually looked pretty neat.
But yeah, so I saw Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. But I don't know, like, to what extent I can talk with spoilers.
I don't care.
Okay.
I read the wiki, so.
Okay. So
in preparing for this, honestly.
So I have made no secret of the fact that I don't like Jurassic World. I don't think it's a very good film, and I kind of hate it. But I saw this because I've liked the franchise for a long time. Like, I saw Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park's one of those movies where, like, I wasn't aware when it came out that it was a new movie, because I would have been about 6, you know? And when you're that age, there's lots of stuff that everybody's talking about that's been around for years, you know, like Star Wars and things like that, you know? So I just thought, like, we didn't go to the theater to see movies as a kid, and we didn't have a TV, so you wouldn't see trailers, things like that. My first exposure to Jurassic Park was actually reading the junior novelization. You know those little books you used to get with photos in the middle? You remember those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I really liked it as a kid, and I actually liked The Lost World too, because while that is not a great movie, that's the Jurassic Park movie where I was aware of the marketing hype, you know? So I
to this day, I still kind of love Lost World.
Yeah, I do too. I think I can recognize that it is a flawed film, but I
think it's better than people give it credit for.
Sure, but I was around for the hype of it, and I still enjoy that movie. 3 is quite bad.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it, but I don't think it's a good film in any way. And Jurassic World I don't like, and why I didn't like Jurassic World is... So Jurassic World is very much a soft reboot, you know? It wants to be the first movie again, with a few other things. But the difficulty is it's not a very smart movie, and the first one, I happen to think Jurassic Park is a much smarter movie than people give it credit for. Like, there's been a lot of revisionism about Jurassic Park these days. Like, it was never really that good. No, that is a really intelligent movie. Takes a B-movie premise and turns it into something, A, that feels almost realistic, and B, deals with a lot of really complicated science, but explains it in a way that an average movie-going audience can understand, you know? It's I think it's almost a perfect movie, the original Jurassic Park.
I mean, that's kind of Spielberg's shtick in general, isn't it?
Same with Jaws.
He takes B-movie premises and turns them into fucking amazing movies.
And that's also the author of the novel, Michael Crichton. That's kind of his thing, too.
Rest in peace.
Absolutely. And that's why... And Jurassic Park's kind of lightning in a bottle, but part of the reason it's so good and part of the reason it is better than all its sequels is you had that really established plot with the novel, unlike movies are made these days where, you know, you don't actually develop your script until shooting's halfway underway. It wasn't like that. There was production time and things like that. Jurassic World is what happens when you try and make a film like that again, like the first Jurassic Park, but you make it like a modern movie with, okay, these are our set pieces, and the special effects are already being made before we finish the script. You know what I mean? And it just isn't a very good movie. It's very structurally incoherent. It's full of stupid decisions. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom might be my favorite Jurassic Park movie since the first one. Because I think when you look at the flaws, I like The Lost World a lot too, but when you look at the flaws of all the sequels to Jurassic Park, the problems are mostly, I think, the same thing. They're trying to recapture that lightning in a bottle feeling, but they don't have the tight plot that first movie has. They just don't have the story structure behind them, you know? I would say. And this one, what it really does that is to its benefit is it doesn't actually try at any point to be a smart movie. And that feels like it should be a criticism.
I wonder if you asked the director the same thing.
Well, okay, maybe it did try to be a smart movie, but it didn't come off like it did. In fact, like, every action sequence should have ended with wah, wah, wah. Like, so right off the bat, this might be the only Jurassic Park movie, I think, where every action sequence feels like it's fundamentally played for laughs. I was laughing my ass off through this film. Way more than I intended to. And I'm sure there will be a lot of people... Do you know what? It's almost... I bet there's a lot of people who will hate this movie in the same way I hate Man of Steel. Which is that...
Okay.
It's a very different film to Man of Steel, but there will be people for whom they never wanted to see this as a Jurassic Park movie, right? They just... That's not what they would ever have wanted to see. And yet, for me, it really worked. It was funny, and it was fun. I liked it.
I wonder if that's because of Chris Pratt. Like I think maybe it's possible for Chris Pratt to maybe someday have a serious like role, but I think that right now, I think most directors or whatever realize that you use Chris Pratt as the funny action guy, you know?
Right. Well, the problem with Jurassic World, the first one, is that Chris Pratt is playing the most cliche version of the Chris Pratt character. And Bryce Dallas Howard is playing, like, she's playing the very specific cliche Ice Queen businesswoman character. In a really cliche version of that.
Oh, you're so there.
Oh, I know.
You almost had it.
A really cliche version of that. I think the quad is not a great... it just doesn't have the... It's too heavy for this track.
Yeah.
And so all the characters feel like stereotypes in the... Oh! And it just wasn't good. This one kind of... Like, for the first hour of the movie, in my head, I was referring to this film as dinosaurs happen around Chris Pratt. Because he just spends a lot of the early movie just looking as dinosaurs happen near him. But what's kind of interesting... So,
another dinosaur.
Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting movie in the way that that the first Jurassic World is a kind of a remake of the first one. The soft reboot title has become pretty popular these days. This is very much the same premise as The Lost World. Explicitly, I think. The premise to this movie is a team of people who were in the previous movie go to an island where dinosaurs are roaming free so that they can try and support the dinosaurs in being allowed to continue living free. They go with a team of people who turn out to be there for ulterior motives, and it ends with... Well, I say it ends. And the culmination is bringing dinosaurs back as a resource to exploit, right? That is the plot to The Lost World.
Oh, absolutely.
But what they do with it is kind of interesting. So, for the first half of the movie, it's almost pure dinosaur action, right? From the point they get on the island, it's mostly just dinosaurs. Because the loose premise of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is the dinosaurs that were roaming free on the island after the Jurassic World incident are threatened because it turns out there's a volcano on the island and they're all going to die. And the various governments of the world come to the conclusion that the best thing to do is just to let them die. There isn't a safe place to hide them. They were produced by private business anyway. And
that's exactly the right response.
Yes,
like
it opens with a little bit of a debate, basically, that is quite interesting. That is, do these genetically recreated dinosaurs qualify for the same protections that an endangered species would get? And they come to the conclusion that the answer is no, which absolutely is the right answer. But basically, Claire Deering, who is the character, Bryce Dallas Howard's character from the first movie, she works for a charity that is trying to save the dinosaurs and stop them from being re-extincted, basically.
Right.
And she gets some unexpected support at the last minute from a character who works for... he's a kindly old geneticist who was involved in the early production of the dinosaurs. He's like a stand-in for Hammond, right? He knew Hammond. He's an old friend of Hammond. And he basically says he wants to rescue a few dinosaurs so that they can be moved to a sanctuary, basically. And protected and live out their lives free. But what they really need help with is, A, they need her to activate a tracking device so that they can find different samples. And they need help getting this one dinosaur that they think is very valuable called Blue, who is the Velociraptor from Jurassic World, basically. She's the trained raptor from the last movie. And that is picked up from the last movie, but I will say, nothing in this film feels like you had to have seen Jurassic World to do it. Like, the only two bits of information you need is that Claire's character used to run Jurassic World. She ran the park, and Chris Pratt's character was an animal trainer, and they pretty much cover that. In fact, I think this is very much designed so that you can watch this without watching the previous ones. It seems to be pretty much structured for that.
Which is a kind of strange decision, because the Jurassic World by no means was a slouch when it came to the...
No, absolutely.
A lot of people saw that movie.
And it got a pretty good critical reception, I think, didn't it? Like, I didn't like it very much, but I think it got, let's say, solid 3 stars.
Lukewarm.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was very lukewarm.
Maybe that's why. It's a soft reboot. And so that
reboot wasn't soft enough.
And then I don't think it's a spoiler to say, and I don't really care, we're going to go into this with a little bit of spoilers, that once they get to the island, it turns out that they want the dinosaurs to sell them to the military, which is very much where Jurassic World went with it, very much where they've been going with this for a long time. They want to turn
Which is such a weird plot thing, because that's not, like, that's a thing, right? Like, we're going to use this creature for the military. You know, Shape of Water was kind of like that, and...
Right.
Like, how useful are dinosaurs to the military?
Well, like, it's so strange because it's clearly supposed to be an analogy for, like, nuclear power and things like that, you know what I mean? All science ultimately gets corrupted by the military, but I don't think the analogy actually works that well when it's dinosaurs. I actually think the original Lost Worlds analogy of big game hunters was better.
Right.
But that's where Jurassic World went with it, you know? Because Vincent D'Onofrio's character in that wants to train raptors for the military. That's his whole thing. This picks that up as well. And so the movie is... And I'm going to be going into spoilers in more detail now, so if you guys don't want spoilers for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, look away. So the movie's basically two halves. The first half is... the story of them going to the island, trying to rescue the dinosaurs and being betrayed. The second half is the story of what the group actually wants with the dinosaurs once they get them home, which is they're auctioning them off to the various countries of the world as genetic fodder, basically, to extract stuff from. And possibly make new weapons. And they also reveal that they have another hybrid dinosaur, which they never actually say it in the movie, but it's clearly half velociraptor, half human. Like, they legitimately don't... They never actually point that out in the movie. They never say it, but when you see the film...
I thought when I read it was half raptor, half of that weird dinosaur they made in Jurassic World. So
what they say in the movie is... The only thing that they do talk about it, and it is supposed to have components from each animal and half of the Indominus Rex, right? But what they say is... It's made up of... The only thing they say explicitly is... It's made up of two of the most dangerous creatures to ever roam on the planet. It's the only thing they say. But a lot of people have taken that to mean it's half Indominus. It's worth mentioning the Indominus was also a hybrid of a ton of other bits of DNA. But I just want to point out, this dinosaur has a slight human skull shape to its skull. It has arms that look like primate arms. The claws come off its hands in almost like... They begin like fingernail shapes. They establish early on in the movie, a character specifically mentions, because they need to give a velociraptor a blood transfusion, they mention that they need to get it from a dinosaur that has 2 or 3 fingers, right? So they establish very clearly in this movie that velociraptors have 2 fingers or 3 fingers, and they show this thing and it's clearly got like a hand of 5 fingers with an opposable thumb. They don't explicitly say it, but it's clearly got human DNA. And it's genetically engineered and trained to kill for the military. And so, the movie's very much of two halves. The first feels more like a traditional Jurassic Park movie in that it's go through the wilderness, rescue the dinosaurs. The second half is dealing with this auction and trying to stop the monsters from getting away. But it's explicitly a monster movie all the time. I mean, they deal with other things, they get a few interesting plot twists in there, but they just keep it dinosaur focused, they keep it fun. Like, this might be, of all the Jurassic Park movies, this might be the one with the most different types of dinosaurs doing different things. You know, they actually get action scenes with herbivores in more interesting ways. And the one thing they don't actually do that much, they have a couple of moments, but they don't have much of the, look, they're so beautiful, da 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 da, you know? They don't really bother with scenes like that. They focus on the plot, and they focus on moving things forward in ways that are enjoyable. So, like, the first dinosaur attack in this movie is pretty fun. It's a group of divers heading underwater to rescue the DNA of the Indominus from the last movie. And when they get down there, the water dinosaur from that movie's down there as well, and it attacks them.
Right.
So they manage to get the fossil up, and they've just been attacked, and one guy's like, alright, I'm gonna help, let's do this, let's get the fossil back. But then suddenly they get attacked by the T-Rex. And then he starts climbing this rope ladder to get in the helicopter to escape, but the T-Rex bites the helicopter. So he's trying to climb up, and this T-Rex is also biting the helicopter, and it's shaking it around in its jaws. And the helicopter's like waggling around. And the pilot's shouting, "Cut the ladder now!" But they're trying to give him time to climb up.
Right.
And as he starts to climb up, the ladder eventually snaps, and the helicopter starts flying away, and the T-Rex is like, "Nuts! Lost my snack!" And then the giant water dinosaur just leaps out of the water and eats the entire helicopter. And there's a lot of scenes like that that are like, "Oh, you thought you were out of that? No, it turns out this happened." It's always enjoyable, and you see a lot of dinosaurs represented in ways you hadn't seen them before. It's just a fun movie. It's so... I mean, I feel like I should qualify this by saying there will be people who, after hearing me say this, will go watch this movie and then tell me that I'm nuts and I don't know what I'm talking about and that it's just a junk movie. And it is. But Jurassic World was a junk movie that didn't know it was a junk movie. And Jurassic Park 3 was a junk movie that didn't know it was a junk movie. So they were also pretentious and boring. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
This is a junk movie that knows it's a junk movie, and it gives you what you want, which is lots of Chris Pratt, and lots of Chris Pratt talking to other people, and funny conversations, and gags, and then dinosaur attacks. And it really works for that. And it also, then, when it really embraces that, it manages a little bit of heart. Because there's actually a really sad moment in the movie that gets you when it sort of comes out of nowhere.
Isn't it the Brachiosaurus thing?
Yeah. It is actually...
Everyone talks about that scene. I don't know what happened, but I've seen that a few times. People talk about this Brachiosaurus scene.
So, well, I can tell you if you like. You want me to tell you?
Okay, sure.
So they go to the island to rescue the dinosaurs, but the plan is never to try and get every wild living dinosaur off the island. They're just trying to get a few samples to save everything. And they do, and they just manage to escape, and they get everything off. And by this point, they've realized they've been betrayed, so they're sneaking aboard the ships to get away. And as they're sailing away, the whole island's erupting. Everything's being destroyed, and the dinosaurs are being driven to the edge of the coast. And as they're leaving, they just see one Brachiosaurus that they saw earlier and had like a bonding moment with. It has nowhere to go. It's being driven to the edge by the lava and the smoke. And it dies. And it's centered around one dinosaur. It's basically highlighting that every dinosaur they couldn't get onto the boats is dead. That they are dying. Mm-hmm. And it's actually quite a heartwarming moment. The ending to the movie is fucking ridiculous, by the way. You said you've got the wiki. They let them out.
Pterodactyls.
They just let dinosaurs out into America.
Yeah.
T-Rexes, Velociraptors, they just let them out into mainland USA.
Right, and doesn't Malcolm basically like, well, now we have to figure out how to coexist.
Do you know what he says? He says, "The world has changed. Welcome to Jurassic World." And then the credits roll.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, so the culmination of the movie.
But that's not at all what would happen.
No.
I don't want to bring realism into this shit, but to be realistic for a minute, what would have happened was, hey, all these dinosaurs got out. Well, guess who just formed the biggest hunting parties on the planet? The U.S. military. And that's exactly what they would have done. They would have hunted these things down and made sure that even if they did get away, they're not reproducing.
Well, the ending's kind of strange because, so the reason it ends up like this is the whole premise is all these dinosaurs have been taken back to the U.S. where they're being auctioned off, right? Mm-hmm. Are you in the game? Did you join?
No.
I'm now in the
solo. You never invited me.
Well, it said rematch. Or I'll quit.
Oh, I exited. Oh, you can keep playing. That's fine.
So, the reason you end up with that ending is, I guess they wanted an ending with dinosaurs getting in, because I think they'll play it like maybe the second Planet of the Apes movie next. Oh, we're living alongside the dinosaurs. But the way we ended up there was, a lot of dinosaurs were taken back to the US for auctioning off, right? And then all hell breaks loose, and that plan basically gets swamped through inability to contain dinosaurs. Although I will say, the problem with this and the problem with the Jurassic World movies is humans end up manipulating dinosaurs to do the good thing for the plot doesn't really work thematically, I don't think, but do you know what I mean? Like, dinosaurs do what Chris Pratt wants them to do, ultimately, in these movies. Whether it's through direct control or just coincidence, that's the ultimate message. Chris Pratt commands the dinosaurs.
Dino Whisperer.
Right. First name, last name says, I like this stream, but I can't agree with that profile picture. The anti-Biscuits profile picture. So, the reason they end up in that situation is, they've got all these dinosaurs in cages, the ones that haven't been auctioned off. Some of those dinosaurs that are auctioned off, by the way, they don't get them back. They do get sent away to other countries. They're trying to set up, I think, for the next movie, global dinosaur problems, which makes sense.
Right. Oh, this is gonna be the Dino Wars, right?
Right.
This is the fulfillment of that.
Destiny, wouldn't it be great if Jurassic World 3 was just called Jurassic World, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs? It was like a dual adaptation. I'd watch that. I still love that show.
No, what I want is Spielberg to come back for this one. Okay, he comes back for Jurassic World 3, and he just makes it, Jurassic World 3, Saving Private Blue, and it's just a complete remake of Saving Private Ryan, except there's dinosaurs just like roaming in the background and shit.
I'd love that. So the reason they get in this situation is kind of dumb. I think that's where they wanted the movie to end all the way along, right? But the problem is they've got all these dinosaurs in the complex, but they don't have access to like boats and stuff. What the next course of action to do would be, from any sensible movie, okay, we'll leave them there until we can get the US government to find a place to send us the resources to move the dinosaurs, right? Or someone. But they don't want to do that. They want to get to an ending where the dinosaurs are escaping. So out of nowhere, they contrive a plot where for some reason the facility is in the process of leaking just that one room with the dinosaurs in with cyanide gas. Because it's all going to hell. And it's filling in and the dinosaurs are going to die. And they have this moment where they try to have their cake and eat it too. So all the characters get into this one room where the dinosaurs are all been let out of their cages. They've all got one room, one door between them and the outside. And she's like, okay, we can't let them die, the Claire character. We have to let them out. And then she stops and thinks, and there's a moment where they're all going, you realize once those dinosaurs are out, they're out, Like, they don't explicitly say it in the movie. They really try to avoid saying it. But I think what anybody with any sense can say is, if you let these dinosaurs out, that T-Rex will eat someone.
Right.
This will happen. Based on everything we know about the T-Rex from these movies. Just going by these movies. The T-Rex and those velociraptors will kill people and be very difficult to kill. Right? We know this. Right. That's what they do. And she's really close to pressing the button, and she doesn't. And they want that moment of, okay, she's not dumb. It would be really dumb to let him out. And then another character just does it. Just goes, I let him out. So they tried to have no, we're not dumb. She obviously realized that would be dumb, but then they do it anyway. Which is a really dumb ending. The ending is kind of a weak spot, but yeah. It's actually a legitimately good movie. The stuff on the island's great. I kept laughing at these inappropriate moments no one else was laughing at just because they were funny. Like, there was a moment when they've drugged a T-Rex and to get it on board the facility to move it along, and they're carrying
drugging
it on
animals. Woo, yeah, good times.
They're carrying it in this carrier under a helicopter, and its legs and tail are just dangling around, and it's this terrifying creature from my childhood, and it's just there dangling around like my cat after it's had sedatives at the vet, like. And I'll tell you the bit, it really made me laugh, and it shouldn't have made me laugh, but it really did. There's a bit after the volcano. There's so much. I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be funny, but I found this film funny, and I think if you go in expecting it to be funny, it is. But I laughed a bit too loud because once the volcano starts going off, there's a scene where they're basically like fleeing the mountain while lava's running down, and they get in a wrecked version of one of those glass spheres from the last movie, the viewing spheres. And they get in, and there's room for two people to sit in the chairs. But then just as they manage to get inside, the door shuts and Chris Pratt gets stuck outside. And there's, one of those action sequences where he's running trying to get in and dinosaurs are just happening all around him. And eventually the lava and stuff chases them right to the edge, and all the dinosaurs are running down the hill, and it's a big stampede. And the gyrosphere, it gets to the edge of a cliff, and smoke and stuff, and dinosaurs everywhere. And it flies off the cliff and lands in the water. And then as it lands in the water, a dinosaur that is clearly not like an aquatic dinosaur lands in the water next to it, flailing, and it just goes... there's all these non-swimming dinosaurs just landing in the water like, no! We don't swim!
I only know how to doggy paddle!
And like that, I think that was supposed to be a sad moment, like the Brachiosaurus. Like, oh no, these animals are being.
Can you do it, please?
Pardon?
Can you do the noise again?
Yeah. Sure, when I watch the movie again, right, I bet it doesn't even make that noise. But in my head, it went. Like.
Hello, Samurai Ninja. Welcome to the stream. And real quick, first name, last name. What kind of picture would you rather us have, huh? Smart guy? Huh? Huh?
What follows is perhaps the dumbest rescue scene in movie history, by the way. So Claire and one of the other people on the island are in this gyrosphere, right? And the glass is all smashed at the top, so it's filling with water. And then you see Chris Pratt, like, swim in after them and dive, and they're sinking, and it's one of those underwater rescue scenes. And he gets his gun out, underwater, I might add. And he's like, move back!
Because that's how guns work.
Get out of the way! And then he fires his gun twice into the gyrosphere glass, creates two perfectly round little bullet holes, no shattered glass at all, right? And starts bashing on the glass, trying to break it. Firstly, right, the glass is already smashed at the top. We see this because the water is coming in, and it's all shattered up there. Like, it's more broken at the top. Secondly, how do you fire the gun underwater? And thirdly, you have a gun that is powerful and perfectly designed enough to fire underwater, but it also, like, won't shatter glass? As the bullets... even if it's bulletproof glass, or, like, shatterproof glass, it already shattered at the top! And then a dinosaur just swims into him, so one of these falling dinosaurs hits him, so he can't keep rescuing them. And then he comes back, and he gets his knife out and just pries open the door. And we're like, why did we risk underwater shooting people? Where we, like, he should have just carried a can opener with him, you know what I mean? Just like, on the sides.
I'm not gonna lie. If I get an opportunity to, shoot a gun underwater, like, I'm taking that opportunity. Like, you can't stop me.
That was what it was like. Like, it really felt like he'd actually been, like, he was just concerned that now they were underwater, there'd be no witnesses.
It's like, now's my opportunity. Like, all the dinosaurs are mine!
Just see you later, Lizaloche. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. But no, I like this movie, and it's not a good movie. I think that's really important to mention. But of all the movies, of all the Jurassic Park sequels I've seen, and you're right, I think of all the ones that take themselves seriously, and if you're trying to take the movie seriously, The Lost World's the best of the sequels, right? But if you just want a fun movie, this is the only one that just goes, just put a ton of dinosaurs in there. Just dinosaurs. I mean, it's full of the worst decisions, logically. They still keep trying to convince you that Dr. Wu is an interesting villain. Because, like...
Did they finally kill him?
I don't think so. He does get knocked. Quite painfully at one point. There is one bit that's really dumb. The macho, tough villain who's in charge of the expedition to lead to rescue the dinosaurs off the island gets himself killed just by going into the Indoraptor's cage for no reason. He just goes in there. He's like, I know, I'll just go in here while it's sedated. Oh, yeah, the Indoraptor, it also smiles at one point.
Oh my god.
Its cheeks take up at the sides. I swear it has human DNA. They never said it. Sinister Minister says, I think firing a gun underwater would hurt your ears. Yeah, if you shot your ears with it.
Gun... Yeah, I mean... Damn it! Why do I keep shooting my own ears?
I'm just picturing a guy at the shooting range. Steve, this gun's really hurting my ears. Well, show me what you're doing. Bang! 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 Just through the ears. This gun's really hurting my hand. Just presses it to the palm. Bang!
Well, I see what you're doing there, Steve, and might suggest some goggles and some earplugs. That should do it. Nope, still hurting. Huh, I don't know why then.
But no, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is not a good film, but is actually a really enjoyable, fun film. It feels like a B-movie, but a good one. Do you know what it feels like, actually? It feels like a Godzilla movie, and I don't mean in the sense of giant monsters, but you know how Godzilla movies, they start off with the characters at the beginning, and they feel like existing characters even if you've never seen them before, and they have their life, and then the monster events kick off, and you still have, like, the shell of a plot, but really it's about the action.
Right.
And they're kind of cheesy in that way, but they still try and be kind of lofty about stuff without being too clever or too serious about it. It feels a lot like that.
Like, that's why I always kind of like when people talk about Godzilla in these terms of like, oh, it's about the nuclear... Like, shut up! Shut up! Like,
the first one is, but they haven't been since that one.
Until, like, I think, like, what, that Shin Godzilla that just came out recently?
Yeah, and I hear that one's boring as all hell. I do like this anime. So have you seen, like, the anime where...
the one where they leave Earth because Godzilla's taken over?
But he's also... There's a space Godzilla there. My favorite title for a Godzilla movie is Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla.
Right.
Because I just like...
That's just admitting going, fuck, we don't know.
I like the idea that they were trying to think of a Godzilla from space, and the name they came up for it was just Space Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Fallen Kingdom's fun. I still don't like Jurassic World. I didn't find that one fun at all, but that's because... So, I think intent really matters, right? Jurassic Park is a movie that asks you to believe that dinosaurs can be genetically engineered and that would be a serious, realistic proposition. And it asks you to believe that, but then really works hard to make it believable. You know, DNA from Amber works really well. John Hammond sells why a rich businessman would want to make dinosaurs in a theme park.
It's in your blood!
I love Mr. DNA. And all that,
me too.
That whole world building and how much it looks like a real theme park sells that whole thing, you know? And the way they take time with it, it really sells it. And then The Lost World, you know, it wants you to believe that there's this second island, and at times it doesn't always get it right. I don't think The Lost World is as good as the first one, but things like showing you the other complex and bringing Hammond back and showing you how believable he is. And also the fact that one of the things that I think sells The Lost World so much is that Ian Malcolm really doesn't want to go. That's actually a big part of why that movie works at all. That he is completely opposed to the idea of going and fights it at every available opportunity actually helps deal with the fact that Jurassic Park didn't really need a sequel. And then Jurassic Park 3...
So you want to know the weird thing about I learned about The Lost World?
What?
So I have a very weird relationship with The Lost World. I never saw all of Jurassic Park before I saw The Lost World.
Yeah, right? This is a great story, by the way. You should tell it for our audience.
So when I was a kid, I had very sensitive hearing. And one of the things that I definitely had sensitive hearing over were, like, certain high-pitched noises. Like the THX opening tone.
I mean, to be fair...
I hated it.
To be fair, you don't really need sensitive hearing to have a problem with that one. Like, that is like the world is ending.
Yeah, it's like, why? Why is this our showcase? Why do we need to kill everyone's ears to prove that we can make good sound? Like,
yeah, the THX logo from now on should actually just be you as a toddler just screaming.
Yeah, 17 years old toddler. So okay, I never see all of Jurassic Park because I get to the scene where the T-Rex in the rain roars for the first time. And if those of you don't know, they made that noise by essentially strapping guitar strings to a steel table. So it killed my ears. And as a child, it actually legitimately, like, really freaked me out. And
I always find the story adorable. I don't know why, it's just very cute.
So I start crying my tiny little eyes out, and so my parents have to leave. They take me out of the theater. And I don't get to finish watching Jurassic Park. And for some reason, I decide I'm never going back. Like, I'm like, no, I'm not, no.
You were the Ian Malcolm to your own ears.
Pretty much. I'm like, no, I ain't going back to Jurassic Park. But
the Lost World for you is just an island full of sensitive ears being chased around by predatory loud noises.
And it's like, yes, that's how it starts. Ooh, ah, then the running and the screaming and the ears.
Just fly across the sky like pterodactyls.
But so yeah, I don't finish it. But
giant stalking Q-tips across the land.
And at this point in my life, like, now I want to see a dinosaur movie. So I'm not going back to Jurassic Park. I'm just gonna Lost World. So I see the Lost World, and
a movie with two shouting T-Rexes in.
Right. But at this point, my ears have kind of mellowed. You know, they've learned to accept the noises better.
What you don't realize is you just suffered irrevocable hearing damage the first time, and now you can't actually hear half the frequencies in the T-Rex roar.
Right. Before I saw Jurassic Park, I was actually like a superhero,
like Daredevil.
Yeah, like my whole life could be different right now had I not seen Jurassic Park as a child. So I go see Lost World. I really like Lost World. Like it becomes like one of my favorite movies, even though I have yet to finish Jurassic Park. All right. Flash forward a few years, and this is why I say my relationship with the Lost World gets very weird. Flash forward a few years, and it's now 6th grade. No, it had to be later. 7th grade. It was 7th grade, and in one of my classes, we have a project that we have to read a book that a movie is based on. And me and my group, we decided that they want to do Jurassic Park. Like, sure, okay.
I know where this is going.
Okay, so I'm like, all right, cool, we'll do Jurassic Park. But then their father mistakenly, falsely convinces us that actually the first book is actually The Lost World, right? But what he's referring to
is the Arthur Conan Doyle book.
The Arthur Conan Doyle thing. We all mistakenly go and check out The Lost World by Michael Crichton. And we read it, right, thinking that this is the first one in the book series, right? But it's not. It is the sequel. And the funny thing about Lost World is that it was written by Michael Crichton explicitly to become a movie. It was actually written after.
Right, he knew that the sequel was coming.
Yeah. But if you've read The Lost World, it is nothing like the movie.
Well, I mean, the basic premise is the same, I suppose.
Other than, okay, to me it almost feels more like they took more from the Lost World to make Jurassic Park 3 than they
did
the Lost World.
The whole river sequence is very much the Lost World novel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that character who rides the bike through the jungle is a little bit like the Billy character in 3, I think.
Right.
I like that character. I'd like to see him in the movie, actually.
Right.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah, it's just sucking at this.
So this is like the convoluted experience I have with the Lost World. Is that so now I've only seen Lost World the movie. I haven't seen all of Jurassic Park. I have not read Jurassic Park, but I have read the book, which I have been misled to believe is has been released before Jurassic Park the book. And it takes me years to put it all back together. I'm like, well, wait, no. I now understand what happened.
When Jurassic Park came out, the difficulty cost... Sorry, when the Lost World Jurassic Park came out, because calling that movie The Lost World kind of annoys me anyway. Taking the title from something else. I don't mean in the sense of like, oh, they shouldn't have... They plagiarized it because the book's public domain, fair enough. I just don't think it's... I just don't get it. I don't get why they thought that was a good idea, particularly. Because they called... You know, it wouldn't have even been so bad if they just called it The Lost World, but they called it The Lost World Jurassic Park.
Right.
Which is a stupid title. Not even Jurassic Park The Lost World. It's The Lost World Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Which I hate. That's actually the thing I hate the most about The Lost World. But then the novel is just called The Lost World, so that's obviously why. But there were a lot of pretend tie-in novels when that came out that were just reprints of the public domain The Lost World.
Right.
So that was a source of confusion. I don't really care for the Lost World novel that much. I mean, part of it's difficult because both Hammond and Malcolm die in Jurassic Park, the novel.
Yeah. They explain that.
Oh, yeah. What great, amazing explanation do they come up with for that? I mean, Hammond they keep dead. But Ian Malcolm's explanation for that is, oh yeah, they were wrong. They thought I was dead, and actually I wasn't.
Yeah. Well, they go on, they explain that, there was a second team that went to go clean up the mess from Jurassic Park, and they found him, you know? It was, yeah.
Right, but...
Something like that.
But was he dead long after the publication of the book? Because the first book is written as an account of an incident. Fair enough. Was he not found and restored until after the account was published as a successful... how long was it before they found him, you know?
Well, I think the idea was that just the account was wrong, you know?
Fair enough.
That they got that bit wrong.
Well, sure, but it's not the most seamless retcon, is it?
Right.
But I don't love that book. I like the film more than the book for that one. I actually like the first Jurassic Park novel a lot.
There's parts of that book that I actually legitimately really enjoy. And the one I really like is what they do in the book, they take a moment to establish not really a rivalry, but this idea of Grant and Malcolm not really liking each other. In the sense that there's a bit in The Lost World where this, other team that's on the island of scientists who, oddly enough, are there to disprove that the dinosaurs ever existed. They're skeptics in a way. I can't remember exactly, but
oh, it makes sense. It's been a while since I read that one as well.
Yeah. So
oh my God.
There's a bit where they come in contact with a T-Rex, right? At this point, they're like, okay, no, shit, yeah, dinosaurs are real. We were wrong. We want to get off the damn island too now, right? And, but they come across this T-Rex, and they, Ian, or Malcolm's team, is watching this encounter happen on camera through like surveillance equipment, and the other team is standing perfectly still while this T-Rex is right there, and everyone's like, what are they doing? And Malcolm's like, they're following the wrong advice, and they go on to explain that Grant's whole theory about the T-Rexes hunting the same way as other lizards do by sight was completely bullshit and wrong. So this other team is standing perfectly still, like, okay, the T-Rex can't see us because we're standing still, and just proceeds to eat the shit out of them. Like,
right, and the thing is, they actually sort of establish in the movie Jurassic Park that doesn't really work. Kind of.
Right.
Because one thing that bugs me about the movie Jurassic Park is Dr. Grant is a paleontologist, right? And most of the movie's pretty accurate about paleontology and dinosaurs and stuff like that, but for a paleontologist who would presumably know that anything about dinosaur behavior, anything other than bones, is speculative, fundamentally.
Right.
He's very, very confident about that fact.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
because you'd also have to be like an evolutionary scientist, right? To be able to make those calls.
And even then, without actually having more than a fossil of a T-Rex's eye, because you can't get a fossilized eye. You need an actual eye of a T-Rex to even start making. You know what I mean?
Right. It's an idea of like, if someone were to come across a human skull who has never seen a skull before, or a human skull, and going, well, I now know how their sinus cavities work. Like, no. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Like, these people clearly did not have noses. They had two empty holes in the front of their face, and that's how they smelled and breathed, you know?
Right, and he also, he knows that velociraptors hunt in packs. Well, no, all he knows about velociraptors at most is we found some near some other ones.
Right. Like, that could have been, once again, go back to humans. Like, humans don't generally try to do anything as groups. Like, we are social creatures by necessity, but no, humans don't actually enjoy being social. But if you found a bunch of us together, you'd get the idea that, oh, wow, they often work together very well. Like, no.
Right,
no,
or if a meteorite hit the Earth and fossilized a football match, someone would be like, they sat in tightly packed, tightly knitted circles facing in at all times and participated in mutual grooming, you know.
Right. You know,
I mean, that is what I do at football matches, but, you know.
And you know, and 22 of these creatures, you know, faced each other as, you know,
as dance. They fought. Right.
Yeah.
But he doesn't go, maybe it can't see us if we don't move. He knows. He is 100% certain that T-Rex can't see you if you don't move.
Well, I mean, it's that really kind of blurred line. Talking about blurred lines. Sorry.
Did it see us?
But no, it's this very long-standing blurred line between paleontology and anthropology. You know, it's they're not the same thing. Like paleontology honestly has more in line to do with just classification than, you know, behavior. You know, that's where anthropology comes in.
Right.
But yeah, and then Malcolm's character in general is like, what the hell are you doing here? Like he is a
a mathematician.
A chaos theorist? Yeah, a mathematician.
Well, they say something interesting.
What are you doing on this island?
They say something interesting in the movie that I think's... I genuinely think it's really interesting, because it doesn't come from the book, because I'm in a bit of a Jurassic Park kick at the moment, because I'm playing the game and I watch the movie, so I'm rereading the book, and it's not in the book. But there's an interesting line in the movie when it's right at the beginning when the lawyer's talking to the guy digging the amber about how they've got an inspection planned, and he says, he's talking about the different inspector they've got, and he says, I've got Ian Malcolm, but the board thinks he's too trendy. And I'm like, oh yeah, one of those cult figure mathematicians.
You know, all his lectures at the university is just bras and panties being thrown up. Woo! Ian Malcolm 316. Woo! Yeah.
Right. And I always, and he is like a rock star, you know. When you see
the leather jacket and
right, and you're like, okay. But then he never looked. The weird thing is, in none of the sequels, he's not really like, because he's in this one as well, but he's just like giving evidence. Right. But I would love it if he was still in the Lost World. If he was still wearing at least the glasses, change his hair, sure, you know,
sure.
But if he still thought of himself as that rock star mathematician, I'd like that.
Right. Well, that's the funny thing about the movie, right, of Lost World, is. He's recognizable. Like, people, like, point him out on the subway. Like, ooh, it's the dinosaur guy. It's like, what?
Well,
what world is this?
The one bit I do like about... Because there are things I like about Jurassic Park 3. It's not a very good movie. It is in many ways a disaster. But the one bit I do love is when he's giving that lecture... And at the end he says, any questions? And all those hands go up, and then he says, does anybody have a question that does not relate to Jurassic Park? Or the incident in New York,
or San Diego.
San Diego, which I did not witness. And then later on, when they land on the island, and he's like, why exactly did you, kidnap me? He's like, we needed someone who'd been on the island. And he's like, I haven't been on the island. You idiot. What I like is that
this island.
Their son's been missing for, 8 weeks? Living on the island perfectly fine, by the way. Doesn't need any help.
Well, I wouldn't say perfectly fine.
Sure, but surviving substantially better.
He picks up on things very quickly.
Yes. And... And yet they don't go, okay, well, the one thing the guy said we needed is someone who's been on the island before. Should we check if this guy's been on the island before? And when they establish, when he says, oh, no, that was Isla Nublar, this is Isla Sorna, the guy goes, you mean there are 2 islands with dinosaurs on them? And I always just think, yeah, sorry, it is a little-known secret how many well-known islands in the world have dinosaurs on them. The survivors of which have written best-selling and controversial books. Because he says later in the film, right? Both he and Malcolm have written books. Because he asks the kid, "Did you read Malcolm's book?" Right? They have both written popular books about their time on islands with dinosaurs. So it's public knowledge at this point. At the time of the Lost World, Malcolm's made out to be a bit of a kook, right? But by this point, it's well known. Because the guy asks Dr. Grant, eventually the Costa Rican government's going to let people on that island. It's well known, right?
Right.
And they couldn't figure out that there are 2 islands and he'd only been on one of them. They didn't know that.
Well,
it's not public knowledge that there are 2 islands with dinosaurs on them.
It is William H. Macy and Tay Leone. Like, you can only expect so much out of those 2.
But they are so funny because they come across as the dumbest couple. Like, they spend half the film talking about the most trivial stuff about going swimming. And my favorite bit is they kidnap Dr. Grant. They kidnap a man, hire mercenaries, charter a plane, travel to this island all for the love of their son. When they get there, Grant's not interested in helping them, and he says, no, I'm going to the coast, right? You want to come with me and stay alive? Great. You want to stay and look for your son and go where you think he is? Fine. You know, but I'm going. And then Tia Leone says, so what are we going to do? And William H. Macy says, we'll look for Eric, but in the direction he's going. And I was like, oh, that was it, was it? Now you're on the island, we're just giving up, really, doing what... Yeah, we'll look for him, but basically we're just going to escape as well. That's the limit of the motivation. Cool. Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah, like, well done. Fucking Parents of the Year here. No, I thought, you know, you think that the Fallen Kingdom has a shitty ending? Jurassic Park 3 has maybe the dumbest thing I've ever seen on cinema.
Are you talking about Ellie's arrival?
Yes.
Because I hate that ending.
Fucking Navy. All right.
Do you know what the worst thing about that ending is? They spend the whole movie prior to that establishing no one's allowed to go to the island. And that you can't get there, and that it's very hard to get there, and the Costa Rican government doesn't let you get there, and that nobody should go, and it's generally frowned upon. And then apparently, if one paleobotanist calls and says, my toddler made a scary noise... Sorry, this is an actual toddler this time, John. My toddler made a scary noise and said the dinosaur man called, and then I heard some shouting on the phone. I don't know if he's actually on the island, or which of the two dinosaur islands he's on, but I think he might be on one. Will you please send the army and the navy?
Yeah.
All of it?
Right. Like, yeah. Can you please, like, incite a possible act of war to, like, because what's that look like to the Costa Rican army or the Costa Rican government, where the U.S. Navy just shows up in force around this one island?
Also, before anybody arrives on the coast with the boats, could you send me in a boat first with a megaphone?
Right.
Before anybody else. And then also take the boat I arrived in back.
Yeah.
So it's just me alone on the beach. And then when he sees me, then land.
Right, yeah. We have to time this perfectly, alright? It's strategic. It's, you know, alright? I swear, this is all very important to the plan. I'm a paleobotanist, alright? I have a good mind for this sort of thing.
I mean, it's a really strange movie, Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
Because there are moments when I think it works, you know?
Right.
I actually like the Spinosaurus. Although I do think
I thought it was kind of...
I think it's pretty dumb when Eric's like, oh, it's T-Rex urine. It scares off a lot of the little ones, but attracts one big one. So the Spinosaurus deliberately seeks out fights with the T-Rex?
Well, yeah, they make it sound like, oh, so the T-Rex is its prey? You know?
Yeah, numb. Because, like, I know it kills the T-Rex, but, like, how many of those fights is it gonna survive?
Well, it's amazing to me, like, how quickly, like, Jurassic Park became professional wrestling, because that is a classic...
Right.
That is a classic, wrestler thing, or even comic book thing, where you want to introduce the next big bad guy, you have to have the next big bad guy take out the last bad guy.
Right.
And so, like, every movie since the first Jurassic Park, we've established that there's now another dinosaur capable of killing the T-Rex, you know?
Right.
You know, either it's the Spinosaurus or it's the Indominus Rex or whatever the fuck that thing's called.
Yeah, although the T-Rex does beat that.
Right.
Although the way that thing escapes is so dumb.
The implication is that it's supposed to be better, you know?
Yeah. Well, the T-Rex is interesting, isn't it? Because it's not actually that big a part of the first Jurassic Park movie. Like,
no.
one of the interesting things about Jurassic Park, I like Jurassic Park. I think it's almost a perfect movie, and I think the franchise is really fun. But do you ever think they always expect you to like the Raptors more than you do?
I think the Raptors became. I think they did actually. I think the Raptors became way more popular than they ever imagined.
Fair enough.
Because remember at the end of, the first Jurassic Park, the T-Rex comes off as the good guy. It saves them from the. It saves them from the Raptors and, and whatnot. But and then once you get to Lost World, they realize, oh shit, people really like the Raptors, so they doubled down on the Raptors, and 2 Raptors took out the entirety of the mercenary, team.
In Fallen Kingdom, I wish I could remember what it was fighting, but a T-Rex does actually save the day like that again. Not at the end, I think it's earlier on, and heroic music plays.
Oh yes.
Like, they have no illusions about the T-Rex here. I mean, the T-Rex saves the day at the end of Fallen Kingdom, too. Like, they specifically deposit one out to save the day.
Bring in the Rex.
The winner of Fallen Kingdom, though, is actually the Pachycephalosaurus, which is the little headbutting one, which is adorable. They use it to make their escape once they've been taken prisoner at the end of the movie. And there's a scene where they let it loose on the crowd of these people that are auctioning the dinosaurs, and it's a little dinosaur with a big bony head that headbutts stuff, and you just see it running.
Has the little tail.
Right, you just see the crowd of people, and every so often you see a person fly into the air. It's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jurassic Park, good franchise, not always well made, but fun.
No, it's a fun.
How do you feel about 3? Because I've seen people really go to bat for 3 over the years, and I don't think I can do it that far, but I can always watch it.
I think 3 definitely has its problems, but 3 also feels kind of like. I can't imagine another movie being the 3rd in that part of the trilogy,
Yeah.
Like, it makes perfect sense to me if that says anything. Like that's the kind of movie I would expect after Jurassic Park 1 and 2.
Yeah. Well, I do actually like the Kirbys as a character. Not so much Eric Kirby, but the parents.
Yeah.
They are very goofy, but I think they work. And I like seeing Alan Grant again. I think he works.
Right.
I think my biggest issue with Jurassic Park 3, actually, is I like the idea with the Spinosaurus, because I like the idea, differently to the T-Rex, of one dinosaur they meet almost immediately that's stalking them across the island. That's funny. I actually think 3 I could have done without the raptors, And I think...
Yeah.
My issue with the Jurassic Park movies is...
I think what, to me, my biggest issue was 3 is what they tried to do. They tried to do the same thing that they did with the raptors in the first one and in Lost World, but then they tried to do it with pterodactyls or the pterodons.
Yeah.
That's the bit I thought was weird.
Well, that whole section just feels like a massive detail. And there's a lot of stuff in Jurassic Park 3 that they just want to have because, we've never seen it before,
I will say 3 does have my favorite moment in all the Jurassic Parks.
Oh, yeah?
And it's Grant's little dream on the plane. He turns and the raptor's just sitting there next to him on the plane.
Yeah.
I love that.
It just goes, Alan.
I wish it would have went further, right? And just been like, it's like
the whole way through, like number 6 in Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
Just on the entire film. I like the moment when they go to the old facility, and William H. Macy finds that vending machine. And he's like, "Does anyone have $1? Do you get some change?" And the other guy just kicks it.
Right.
Like, yeah, nobody's coming to count the. Plus, how old must that chocolate have been? You know.
Right. Oh, I would love to see the post-credit scene where it shows William H. Macy at his house, you know, and he knock on the door, he opens it, and there's the representative from Nestle, like,
nobody fucks with
you
Nestle.
owe us $1.50, you know, like.
Yeah, dinosaurs. Nobody really makes dinosaur movies these days, except Jurassic Park.
Right. Well, I mean, there was never really any that were as successful either. Right.
Right, well, what's the most successful non-Jurassic Park dinosaur movie? Carnosaur?
Carnosaur? Yeah. And that was terrible, you know. Although I do love Carnosaur 2, the T-Rex versus the bulldozer.
I like Carnosaur 2. I like Carnosaur 2 a lot. What about, does Where Back a Dinosaur Story count? Do you remember that one?
Nope. That's what I'm saying, no.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear. I must have cut out for a little bit. Where Back a Dinosaur Story was an animated movie. I think it was John Goodman was the voice of a T-Rex in it.
Oh, wait, okay. Now I know what you're talking about. We're Back.
We're Back. I said We're Back.
See, I heard Where Back.
Oh, I see. Like, Where Back. The man who transforms into a back under the full moon.
It's like, no, the full moon. Oh, thwap. Just like a mannequin torso just rocking back and forth on the ground.
I'd enjoy that. I'd watch that. Yeah. Where Back... I remember seeing that one like in video stores for years. And never seeing it. And then it finally being on TV and watching it. And it's the weirdest movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's... did you ever see... You know what my favorite fucking dinosaur movie other than Jurassic Park is? Prehistoria.
No, I don't think I saw that one.
Have you never seen this?
No.
Oh, man. So, I don't know what the exact storyline behind it, but it's a comedy, like a family comedy, where this family basically comes into possession of like 6 mini dinosaurs. Like they were like products of an experiment. So there's like a mini T-Rex and a mini Brachiosaurus and a mini Triceratops, and they're also run a miniature golf course, and they use the dinosaurs to make their miniature golf course better.
Is it a bit like... do you remember when a lot of movies were like that, like Battery Not Included and stuff like that? It's like that kind of vibe?
Right. Yes. I remember because the dinosaurs were all claymation, you know, with real...
Oh, I'm looking for it now and I can't see it. What was it called? Prehistoria?
Yeah. Or Prehysteria, maybe?
Oh, Prehysteria. I see this one now.
Yeah.
Apparently
I think there was like Prehysteria 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, no, I figured out the best dinosaur movie that isn't Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Theodore Rex.
Oh, balls.
I hate that movie.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like actual like serious ones. Like,
Have you ever seen Tammy and the T-Rex?
Nope.
Tammy and the T-Rex is a really dumb movie, and I really think you should work it out. It's what's her name? Is it from Starship Troopers? Denise Crosby.
Denise Richards?
Sorry, not Denise Crosby. That's from Star Trek. Denise Richards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she plays. There's a combination of 2 plots. She's got a boyfriend, and he's a bit of a dick. And I think he gets involved in like...
Is he back and he's gonna be trouble?
I think he gets involved in a car accident. It's been a long time since I saw this movie. And simultaneously there's a mad scientist, who wants a human brain to put in his robot. His robot, by the way, is a robot T-Rex.
Of course.
And, he takes the brain from her boyfriend and puts it in the T-Rex, and he wakes up and he's like, "Hey, I'm in a T-Rex now, apparently. And they go on an adventure to try and get his brain back. And so it's called Tammy and the T-Rex. And he has to, like, eat things and be treated like an actual T-Rex, even though he is a human brain in a robot T-Rex body. It's pretty bad. My favorite thing about it, though, is it's clearly like an animatronic T-Rex from, like, a park. Things like that. So there are some shots where, like, it's like a long-distance model and things like that, and it's being moved. But whenever you see a shot in it, it's always shot from, like, the knees up. Because it clearly actually, in real life, doesn't have any, like, moving legs. So you never actually see it in motion. Or when you do see it, like, walking and stuff like that, it's clearly, like, being moved around on a little cart. It's a really funny movie. Not intentionally, you know? Just very enjoyable.
So, about Carnosaur, right? So, you know how kids can somehow convince each other of the weirdest shit, mostly because they don't actually know what they're talking about?
Right.
I was convinced that Carnosaur was such a bloody and gory movie, right, that it was actually banned from theaters and rated X, right? Because it was a straight to fucking movie, straight to video movie. Like, it never made it to the theaters because it was so bad. But all my friends told me, like, oh yeah, man, it never even made it to the theaters. Like, that's how, like, gruesome. Man, it's like, oh man, we gotta see this movie. And that's another one where I never saw the first Carnosaur, but I did see Carnosaur 2, where you do see that girl's arm getting slowly ripped off her shoulder. But I've actually gone back to watch that scene, because as a kid, I remember being kind of horrifying. Like, oh my god, it's like traumatizing. Go back and see that. It looks like the fakest arm you've ever seen in your life, attached or like with like gum. So when they're like ripping the arm off, it looks like gum being stretched between the fake arm and the body. It's so bad.
When I was a kid, I knew this other guy in school, and he was a little bit sheltered, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
But you know, the kids who are often a bit sheltered are often the ones with the most mouth. You know, the ones who they have the most to prove.
Right.
I remember him once trying to regale us with this story of his parents letting him watch this hardcore porno movie, and that they like watched it together, you know, as a family. And everyone's like, what? He tells us the whole story, right? And it turns out they'd watched that Demi Moore striptease movie.
Like, he's fucking lucky. Like, if it had been a different era or a different time and the wrong people had heard him saying that, like, his family could have been in like a serious trouble. Like,
yeah. I mean, like, I wouldn't want to watch striptease with my parents anyway.
No, God, no. Yeah, no, hell no.
But
have you ever been in a situation like that, though?
Well, movies are weird, aren't they? Because you'll be watching a movie and it's like, oh, hello, it's Humphrey and the Care Bears, and you'll be watching it for like an hour, and it'll all be like, we're off on adventures, and then your parents walk past the open door, and it's like, and now Susie Bear's gonna take off her clothes. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
So, I remember clear as day the one that got me, right? The one that got me kind of in trouble, or both me and my dad in trouble, right? So, my dad, I had a thing for Jean-Claude Van Damme movies as a kid.
I thought you were going to say I had a thing for Jean-Claude Van Damme. I was going like, that's fine, John.
I still do.
Takes all sorts.
All right, have you seen that Volvo commercial with the semi-trucks? Like, hell yeah. So, we're watching Time Cop.
Oh yeah, that classic.
Yeah.
That might be the worst Van Damme movie.
It's pretty bad, but I love it. I love Time Cop, right? But there's a specific scene in that movie that my dad always made me close my eyes to, right? And he was generally pretty good about it. Like, he knew when it was coming. But this one time, he was kind of dozing off on the couch while we're watching Time Cop. Just as my mom's walking by, there's a scene where, out of fucking nowhere, right? It goes from one scene to the next with no introduction, where it's this like scene of them in a shopping mall or something like that, and then the very next scene is just full-on shot, full frontal nudity of this girl just writhing on the floor and like making like moaning noises and stuff like that, which you find out is this character in the police department with a VR headset on watching porn. But it's so abrupt, right? And so my dad was kind of dozing off and wasn't paying attention, and then bam, the scene hits right as my mom's walking into the room. And so right away she's like, "Jesus Christ, John, you can at least make him cover his eyes." What? Huh? No, I just felt... And then thus started a huge argument between my parents.
What's interesting is...
Which I enjoyed. It was fun to watch.
So
I always
presumably,
liked watching my parents fight.
So you're named after your dad, which I don't think I knew.
No, I'm not, actually.
Are you not?
No.
Is he not called John? Oh, I see. That's fine.
He's John. I'm Jonathan.
Oh, I see. But there's some sort of confusion to that, surely, because was there a moment where you were like, you were expected to cover his eyes? Sorry, Dad, you can't see this. But... So,
no,
here's the question.
Because she said, "Jesus Christ, John."
Fair enough. No, that's fine.
My mom never calls me John.
Oh, that's okay. Does anybody call you John? I call you John. That's fine.
Most people call me John. But...
Does anyone call you Johnny Doolally?
Not after that time.
So, the question... So, my dad wasn't really like that. I wouldn't have had this issue with my mom, because like I say, my mom didn't have a TV. We didn't watch movies as a kid at my mom's. But my dad didn't really supervise. I've told before, like, my dad taped me the first Mad Max movie when I was like 5 or 4. I don't remember the first time I saw that movie. I'd seen it my entire life. That's a really violent movie. And the first Mad Max movie, it's not even like comic book weird satirical violence like the later ones. It's just grim.
Right.
I asked my dad years later why he taped me, a young child, this horrible post-apocalyptic, depressing movie, and he was like, "Oh, I thought it was quite different. It was good, wasn't it?" I was like, "Well, yeah, that wasn't really what I was getting at." So that didn't come up much. I didn't really have like a cover his eyes kind of thing. So this makes me wonder, having never had that experience, what did you think was happening in the movie at that point?
Well, here's the weird thing, right? I think most... Sorry, I'm eating a little bit. I haven't eaten all day.
No, that's alright.
So, I think a lot of parents kind of forget that kids have imaginations, oddly enough, because most kids knew that as soon as you're told, cover your eyes, you knew that there was something to do with private parts, you know, like the bits that you're not supposed to see, but you just kind of make it up in your own head, and it's usually way worse in your imagination.
Right.
Like, granted, as a kid, I didn't know what like full-on sex looked like because I hadn't seen my first pornography or anything yet. But in my head, before I actually got to see that scene, I thought it was just flat-out sex happening on that screen. Which, in my very limited knowledge, was just basically a man and a woman laying on top of each other, kind of moving, as I was informed by NYPD Blue. That's what sex was. But yeah, it was, so I thought it was just straight up porn on screen, but really it was just, I mean, it was still kind of porn, but not as explicit as I imagined.
Well, censorship would have been a waste of time, I suppose, for me, considering my dad made the mistake of taping episodes of Thomas the Tank Engine over some hardcore porn tape he'd at some point managed to import from Europe. So after about 3-4 episodes of, you know, Thomas and Percy help out at the regatta, it suddenly became a very different video.
No, the funny thing happened almost exactly the same for me. So the weird thing is, like,
you're watching a porno, and then just before the exciting bit, Thomas the Tank Engine kicked in.
Just
You'd never be able to look at steam trains the same way.
Does someone order a large sausage pizza? Oh, conductor!
Beep beep! It's right at the climax. Oh, do 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 do. Now I can't finish without seeing a happy little engine.
No, what I was gonna say is, so I had kind of a weird situation where my parents would always like censor things like nudity, right? But would never censor things like language or blood or things like that. For some reason, it was nudity, which, from my understanding, is actually kind of a very American thing to do in general. I've heard other people talk. Yeah,
but I don't think Britain's that different.
Right. But yeah, I hear a lot of stories from kids my age where like, oh yeah, no, I always had to close my eyes during sex scenes in movies, but I could watch graphic horror movies as a kid, and no one thought anything about it. So I remember the one thing that my mom used to always let me watch were old Robin Williams stand-up bits. And if anyone knows, Robin Williams is not the clean-cut guy that you think he is because of Mrs. Doubtfire or the genie from Aladdin. He was actually a very vulgar comedian. And I would watch these old Robin Williams ones, especially Robin Williams at the Met. Right, that was the big one. And I was watching this one time, and it was another one of those situations where my parents were usually there watching it with me, so they always knew when to stop the tape. Well, one time I was watching it without them, and I just kept on watching after the thing was over, and it was a taped thing. Same thing. Right afterwards, bam, porn.
Yeah. It's pretty, I think it's pretty common. But you know who I really feel sorry for, though? It's those kids who get their parents' homemade porn.
Oh. Oh.
Like, I'm glad that never happened to me.
Right. Oh.
You don't want that one, you know?
Mm-mm. Parents come home. Hey, how's it going, little Jimmy? I know what you did to Mom! I know what you did! And you let him. You let him. Well, I think we should probably start wrapping up there.
Sinister Minister says, where do you watch that tape now?
I had it converted to MP4 and I uploaded it to Pornhub.
To this day, Robin Williams still gets me in the mood. Free-form improvisational comedy really sets me off. And I can't walk past the Met anymore.
Honestly, it's not even his stand-up that gets me, it's just the voice. So I watch Fern Gully and get,
Well, going. I mean, to be fair, Fern Gully, it gets everybody surely.
Right. Zach. Yeah.
Alright, let's get out of here. Wrap us up.
Yep. You have been watching Those Aren't Biscuits. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you listen, please like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Share it with your friends. Help us grow a little bit bigger. It'd be great. I have been one of your hosts, though, Jonathan Cadotte. And with me, as always, has been Owen Adams. Owen, where can they find you?
By going to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Owen Adams.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at John C. Person, or you can find all my other content here on the channel that you are watching right now. Straight. But until next time, have a good one.
Bye-bye.